Recording in progress. Recording stopped.
Good morning, honorable members.
Good morning, Chair.
Uh,
How are you, Chair?
Hey, I'm trying to adjust the volume. I'm good. I'm good.
All right, Chair.
Recovering from our provincial week, run around in provinces.
Yes, Chair.
Am I audible? Because I really can't hear you. I don't know whether it's my phone.
Yes, you are, Chair.
Oh,
Loud and clear.
all right then. I'm trying to check if we're forming a quorum.
And not yet, Chair.
It's me and Baha, members who are in the meeting.
Yes, just the two of you for now, Chair.
Okay.
We still have 5 minutes to go.
Oh yeah, no, great. Hey, good morning to everybody on the platform. Good morning, Khonyamora.
Morning, Chair.
Recording in progress.
Good morning, Chair and honorable members. Good morning to DM and everyone present in the meeting.
Good morning, honorable members. Good morning, Yoro.
Good morning, Chair, and good morning, members.
Morning, Chair.
Reflect the agenda of the meeting, Noltando. Oh, yeah. Hey, I can't see. Yeah, honorable members, that's the agenda of the meeting. Is there any issues that members would like to add on this agenda before we adopt it? No additions. Any move for adoption of the agenda?
Ndongeni moves the Chair the adoption of the agenda.
Any moves, any seconder?
Christian second.
Oh, yeah, Honorable Christian, thank you very much. All members, we're meeting here today to get a briefing from the ministry and the department about the basic education on safety, security, ICT, of course, our district development model, and how they are going to access additional funding to meet some of the needs of the department. This briefing, it's very important, members, because you know that we were told that within a particular time, schools should be compliant in terms of ICT access to tools of work by student learning and teaching materials. So we're getting that briefing today. I'll give over to the DM, to the ministry, to give us a brief. I don't see the minister's name on the platform. Can we give over to the DM, to the ministry, to give us a briefing?
Thank you, Chair. Greetings to you and greetings to all the honorable members in the meeting, members of the Select Committee. We have an apology, which I believe it has been sent, the apology of the minister, because today we have been also invited by the SCOPA to go and attend. So minister is there. That's why she delegated me to be in this meeting, that we can't both of us miss this meeting, because we take it's also equally important. That's why the DG will be moving from one meeting to another, but now he is in this meeting with DDG Geya and DDG Weddle, but with all chief directors responsible for all the items that you have mentioned, Chair. We we are ready with the presentations with the issues, safety and security in schools, delivery of ICT infrastructure and internet access within schools, district development model, and how it's used to guide provinces, how the DB initiates maintaining and sustain corporate and other funders support. We have all the responsibility managers for these issues that have been raised. But what we can share with the portfolio, with the select committee today is that our learners are busy writing preliminary examination, and there are no major issues that were raised. The load shedding is not disturbing the writing of the prelim, and yes, issues of learners maybe getting sick, could not write, which we are managing, will be there always, because when we deal with exams, we always meet such issues. And then another issue is the readiness for the administration of the 2023 NSC, which we are ready. I think the select committee will invite us very soon to come and present, because we should not be overtaken by circumstances that how ready is the department to administer the 2023 NSC, as well as the preparing of the learners and the challenges that we faced during the year that you must know, and the challenges that the learners faced. So we will come soon to do that presentation on invitation. But now I will allow, with your permission, Chair, I don't know whether we start with you checking the quorum and whatever, but we are ready. The DG is here leading the team, but then the two DGs are here also. So you'll guide us on that should we go straight to the presentations, or you'll still come in first? Thank you, Chair.
No. Today we're getting briefings from the department, and I think we do form a quorum. There were apologies of members who are out of the country, and yeah, I don't think we should eat into our time with those. Let's get the presentation, DGs. Thank you very much.
DG, the Chair has invited you.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister, Honorable Chair, and Honorable Members. Thank you, DM. Just a small, humble correction. The Minister was supposed to go to Scopa. There was confusion in the office of the Minister. DM will recall that the Minister left last week for UNESCO. She was supposed to come back tomorrow after having covered the program of UNESCO, but she requested to come back earlier for cost containment, but take up the other meetings virtually. Minister this morning and the rest of the day is involved in UNESCO matters, and she couldn't even make it for Scopa DM. So the office thought that because she's back, she'll go to Scopa. She couldn't make it because she was still committed to the Scopa program. I mean, the UNESCO rather. UNESCO program. I just thought I must just correct that. As DM has correctly pointed out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, DM. The first presentation is going to be on school safety. As DM indicated, the team is ready here. Mr. Ndlebe will do that. School safety, which will be done by either Dr. Watson, who's the Chief Director, or Mr. Ngobeze, who are also in the meeting. And the second one, Chair, which is progress on ICT, is going to be done by Mr. Tabani, who's the responsible Chief Director. And the third one, on the district development model, is going to be done by Mr. Ndlebe, and he'll appraise the meeting on the work that we have done to bring the sector together, and the work that we've been doing in provinces led by DM and the Minister in provinces. And the last one, which is on donor funding, donors and funding partners, is going to be done by Mr. Louis Taylor. As DM correctly indicated, I'm in a meeting of the ELRC, of the employer and employee parties. We're trying to diffuse the tension that has been created by budget cuts and cost containment measures. Provinces have not been able to declare their post baskets. In other words, the number of teachers will be teaching next year. So we've brought all the 9 provinces together, and I'm mediating in that situation so that we avoid the unfortunate, Honorable Chair. It would not be out of disrespect when I'm not available here. I am busy. As I'm speaking, I'm just in the next room, and I've been asked to be physically here to make sure that we navigate the sector through these difficult times. So thank you very much. If you allow, Chair, I'm then going to request Dr. Watson or Mr. Ngobese to take the Honorable Select Committee through a school safety report. As DM indicated, Mrs. Geyer is leading on my behalf, and Dr. Whittle also is available, but Mrs. Geyer is the one who's going to be leading the technical teams that will be presenting on each of the 4 topics that are here. Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Minister, Honorable Chair of the Select Committee, and honorable members. Thank you. Dr. Whittle or Mr. Ngobese?
Thank you very much, DG. Mr. Ngobese will do the presentation. Mr. Ngobese.
Thank you, Dr. Whittle.
Thank you very much. Good morning to the Honorable Chair, the Deputy Minister, and honorable members. I will try and fly the presentation from my side. I trust that members can see the presentation.
Yes, we can see it.
Thank you very much, DM.
Yeah, I see it.
Thank you. The presentation is on school safety. It is focusing on some of the programs that we are actually doing on the ground as a department in terms of trying to address the issue of safety in schools. We note that even though in our schools we have got positive stories to talk about that happens in our schools around teaching and learning, and also the programs that we have, but we still receive disturbing incidences in our schools that have to deal with violence. There is also bullying that gets reported. Some of the parents and some of the schooling community, as well as learners and teachers, reporting directly to the office of the minister. There are sometimes issues relating to drugs and substance abuse that we get to know about. Vandalism is also quite high in some of the areas of our country. And we also get reports on corporal punishment and learners who come to school with dangerous weapons. So these are some of the challenges that are there in some of our schools, but not to say that then this is the majority of our schools where we experience this. But I must indicate that in each and every province, there are hotspot areas. And as a way of responding, the Department of Basic Education came up with a school safety framework, which is an overarching framework that has to address all these issues that I've spoken about. The framework is divided into 2 parts, addressing quite a number of some of these challenges that we spoke about. It is currently an instrument that we use as a sector to ensure that we empower and equip everybody within the schooling sector to know how to deal with some of these challenging reports that I've just indicated above, the incidences of violence, the issues of dangerous weapons, issues of vandalism, etc. So it is a document that is really used by the sector to ensure that when we capacitate SGB members as they become elected, when we capacitate new members of the SMT, school safety committees in the school, it is a document that we use because it sort of contains all the activities and the actions as well as the tools within the document itself of how a principal of a school or a member of a school safety committee must do in case they experience issues of violence or any matter that relate to issues of school safety. We have not just produced it as a document, but we have also made a digital training out of it. And this time around, we have also made sure that it is SACE accredited with 15 professional development points. When we were checking how many people have undergone this training digitally, we are over 130,000 of people that have completed the course. This is a kind of a digital training that the department is doing in partnership with vets. In terms of the other areas that we are currently working on is the issue of disaster risk management in schools. Members might know that at some point, I can't remember the year, but I think it was around 2016, if I'm not mistaken, where we had a terrible incident in Northwest where learners in a special school died as a result of fire. The school caught fire, and we had learners, special needs education learners, our ELSEN learners at the school who died as a result of issues of fire. So the department, working with many other stakeholders, including the National Disaster Management Center and Santam, who are our partners, then worked on this particular area of work that it needs to be part of what we do daily as a department to ensure that schools comply with the safety measures, especially on the issues of disaster. Teachers are trained, principals are trained, learners are taken through evacuation plans in case of disasters. Recently, we have now just partnered with Santam, who are really helping us in terms of bringing some state-of-the-art technology in some of our special schools. We have targeted special schools as a start, not that we will only focus on the special schools, but we felt that that is where most of our vulnerable learners are. So we need to ensure that in cases of emergencies, are those schools ready to, evacuate learners and all the personnel within the school, particularly because they are the most vulnerable of our schooling community. We work with a local municipality when we roll out this training. We normally do a 2-day training in which the first day focuses on officials in the department at the district level as well as at the province. And then on the following day, we focus primarily on special schools. It includes all the people that are involved in the disaster management, the fire chiefs from municipality. And there is also a tool that accompanies this particular training, which is then used by the schools to assess themselves and also indicate their state of readiness should an incident of disaster strike at a school. As a department, we also have 2 protocols that deals, one is the one that deals with the incidences of corporal punishment in schools, because in as much as corporal punishment was banned many years ago, we do find that in some schools, there are teachers who are using corporal punishment. So it is meant to guide the processes of reporting and how the system needs to deal with those that are still using corporal punishment. One of the reasons why we speak against corporal punishment is that in a country like ours, where issues around violence against children, gender-based violence is quite rife. We need to teach our learners while they are still young that any form of violence to solve a problem is not really the solution. So we cannot be in schools and promote the usage of violence to solve or settle problems. So it is quite important that we deal with it. I will elaborate as I go on with the presentation in terms of what is it that we have done in order to discourage the use of corporal punishment in the schools. We also have another protocol which deals with the management and reporting of sexual abuse and harassment in the school. These protocols are just there to guide the schools, to assist learners in terms of step-by-step processes that need to be followed when these matters have been reported. We continue as a department to mitigate documents to schools so that everybody in the sector knows about the schools, because we realize that any form of intervention where a document is sent, but if it is not mediated properly, then schools would not know. They will have just a document and not really know how to go about report some of these issues that are raised. In terms of looking at the 2021 General Household Survey, which indicates that there has been decline in terms of the number of learners experiencing any form of violence in school. It's a positive step for us as a sector, but we know that we have not yet reached a state where we will be satisfied with the numbers. The numbers are quite high. We still see quite a lot of corporal punishment being administered in some of the school. So our effort will still be on making sure that we decrease this and discourage it from happening in our schools. In terms of this particular slide, I'm sure members can see that the issue of corporal punishment among any other forms of violence in our schools, the prevalence of corporal punishment is still the highest. And as a department, we have taken action in order to ensure that we root out the challenges associated with administering corporal punishment in our schools. The department further has a protocol document with the South African Police Services, and we continue to implement this protocol in order to curb violence in our schools. The protocol was encouraging that each school must be linked to a police station. But we took a step further than that to say it's not just enough that the schools are linked, because schools can be linked and we still have issues of violence within the school. So it is important that within the police station, the principal must have a dedicated cop that will sort of be the first respondent should there be any challenges taking place at a particular school. A principal is encouraged to have a number of a direct number of a police officer who is linked to the school, so that should there be any form of violence or any threat that happens at a school, at least there is a police officer who can respond quickly. They continue to assist us in terms of searches and seizures, especially in areas that are identified as hotspot. I'll be showing briefly some of the stats in terms of what has happened over the past financial year. They also do crime awareness campaigns in the schools, and they also assist the department in terms of enforcing the closure of taverns that are within the legal proximity to the schools. Those are the areas that we collaborate. In terms of what provinces have reported us as part of searches and seizures that are conducted in the financial year 2022 and 2023, these are the numbers per province where schools police officers have gone to schools to do searches and seizures. These help us because in some of the schools, especially where there are gang violence and where there is quite high numbers of violence in the areas, we get to see some of the weapons that they confiscate. We also see unwanted substances that get into our schools. So it is quite helpful that we have this protocol with SAPS. In terms of the total figure of all searches and seizures that were conducted in 2022-2023, it was standing at 3,263 schools. The department also leads a campaign because around bullying. Bullying is one of the challenges that are there, and sadly, we have lost some learners in our schools as a result of bullied by other learners. So as a result of that, the department led by the deputy minister decided to partner with 7 other departments in a campaign that moved from one province to the next province, especially where these issues of bullying is rife. We have had quite successful campaigns together with the SAPS, the Department of Social Development, Department of Health, Department of Home Affairs, Department of Justice, Department of Communication and Digital Technology, as well as the Presidency. These are some of the provinces that we have actually been in, as well as the district that the province would identify as a hotspot district. And then we will then rally all these 8 departments to go to those particular areas with an intention of assisting. Just this year alone, we have been in the Eastern Cape in the Nelson Mandela Bay, and we have been there twice already. And recently, just last month, we finalized the campaign or in KZN, and it was Pinetown District. I must indicate that these are not just a one-day event. We actually, as a department, go there for 3 weeks, and we identify schools that are really struggling and are showing some form of difficulty with the issues of safety. But we also use the platform to address social ills that are common, like teenage pregnancy in some of these schools, and ensure that we bring the services, other services that other government departments are bringing on board in order to have a full kind of intervention. Just in KZN, which is the latest one that we have done, we were there for 3 weeks, and we were in particular KwaMashu because the province had identified serious challenges in that particular district, especially in particular KwaMashu area. And that is where we then concentrated and did quite a number of intervention, looking at the issues of teenage pregnancy, bullying, the issues of drugs and substance abuse, and some of this engagement before the main day. These precursor events that we normally have are led by other government departments that are actually the lead departments in these particular areas. So they do assist us a lot as a Department of Basic Education in terms of addressing these issues. In terms of what we have planned for this particular year, some of the items that are listed here have already been activated. We are focusing on 25 districts that we are monitoring across the country. We will also be moving again and continuing with the interdepartmental campaign on violence prevention, because we can see the impact that it is doing, especially because of the support that we get from other departments. We will also be strengthening the program in special schools, especially around the issues of disaster. Just this week, we had a meeting with our colleagues from the National Disaster Management Center. We will also be continuing to train using our risk assessment tool, targeting the Northern Cape. We have just finished. We are now targeting the Eastern Cape in the next 2 weeks. Secular, reminding everybody in the sector, our teacher unions, our school governing bodies, SMTs, and everybody within the schooling sector was released by the Office of the Director General, just reminding everybody in the sector that corporal punishment is not allowed. It is banned in our school, so that at no point should there be any person that is saying they do not know. So it's just a reminder, but we also have requested statistics from our labor section just to see how effective as a sector we're dealing with those who are corporal punishment in our schools. One of our target for this year, which is starting next week, is the research on harmful religious practices in schools that we are doing in partnership with UNICEF. There has been quite a number of incidences that have been reported in the schools, and the governing body association requested the department to guide in terms of how schools should respond to some of the religious practices that sometimes disrupt the teaching and learning in school. So the DBE has therefore commissioned this research, and we are in partnership with the University of Pretoria as well as University of Johannesburg, and the work is going to start next week. The other circular that we have just released, earlier this year, was just to remind schools on the safety regulations and also reissue them, because there's quite a number of incidences where learners drown while they are on excursions, and so we are just reminding schools to take caution, especially when they take excursion where learners will participate in any form of water activity, so that we guide and save lives. We will continue to be working in terms of participating in violence prevention forums, which are from time to time, they are called by our sister department, SAPS, and we have participated in quite a number of them that are led by the Minister of Police, and also partner with other NGOs that are actually assisting us in terms of making sure that our schools are safe and friendly environments for teaching and learning to take place. So these are some of the efforts that the department is engaged in, has made over the past year, and continue this year to do. I will end the presentation here, and thank you, Chair, for your time and allowing us to make this presentation. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. The next presentation will come. I guess we'll deal with the. We will engage with the presentations at the end. So let us.
Chairperson, the next presentation will be done by Mr. Klabani.
Thank you, Klabani.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'm sharing the presentation. Not sure whether members can see the presentation.
Yes, we can see the presentation, Mr. Klabani. You may proceed.
We can see it is on the screen.
Thank you very much, DDG. Let me greet the chairperson, the Honorable Chairperson of the Select Committee, the Honorable Deputy Minister, the honorable members of the Select Committee, DG and DDGs who are in the meeting, and my colleagues. Chairperson, as indicated, I'll be dealing with the presentation on delivery of ICTs, infrastructure and internet access within schools, efforts that have been made by the basic education sector to ensure that we deliver ICTs to our schools and we create environments that are of a 21st century for our learners and for our teachers to leverage on the benefits that ICTs can bring into education. And that is a table of contents. I will not spend much time on it. And that is the purpose of the presentation. And perhaps, Honorable Chairperson, let me indicate that in 2015, the President commissioned an Operation Phakisa ICTs in education that called on experts and thought leaders, as well as practitioners and role players within basic education to converge and come up with a blueprint and a costed plan of how we can achieve 100% coverage of ICT delivery in the sector, where every teacher, every learner will have ICT devices and teachers will be trained. There's going to be connectivity in schools, as well as availability of digital resources to support education. That plan projected that for us to realize that aspiration, we needed 30 billion rands to do that. And coming out of the Operation Phakisa, National Treasury indicating that there were no additional monies that were going to be made available to any department, including basic education. The minister and the DM directed DG to look for money within the basic education, working with the 9 HODs, identify funds for us to be able to begin to roll out ICTs in education. All this anchored on the Constitution, the White Paper 7, as well as the Operation Phakisa plans. The plan that we developed, honorable members, anchored on a number of strategic goals that were to drive us towards 100% universal access of ICTs in the sector. One of the key pillars was provision of devices, as I indicated, and these devices were for learners or are for learners, teachers, as well as those devices that are fixed inside of the classrooms, converting classes into smart classrooms, as well as establishment of computer centers in schools. This is ICT infrastructure, and for learners, it is mainly tablets, and for teachers, it's laptops. And one of the key pillars is around issues of ensuring connectivity is available through a number of technologies, fiber, satellite, and all those technologies that bring about connectivity into schools, as well as making available data bundles for both learners and teachers, for them to be able to access connectivity anywhere, even when they're outside of the school. Critical to all this was issue of preparing our teachers to ensure that our teachers are able to integrate ICTs into their teaching practices. And our Deputy Minister has been on the forefront to ensure that the Department of Higher Education train our teachers and ensure that there is no teacher who comes out of universities who is not ICT compliant, who cannot use ICTs for teaching and learning. And the DM has been leading on the front on this, in this regard, to ensure that we don't invest money in training teachers on how to use ICTs, but it's only for purpose of further development, but that they've got the basic skills. Honorable Chairperson, one other key thing is about exploring and using remote and digital learning platforms to ensure that we use virtual classrooms, we use platforms where we remotely reach out to our learners And this came to the fore, particularly within COVID, when we had to reach our learners when they were at home and we were caught and we were not ready. And that we are working very hard to ensure that should we be hit by another pandemic, we should be in a better position to respond speedily and effectively to ensuring that we reach out to our learners. And the last pillar is around the issue of availability of CAPS-aligned digital content that will support teaching and learning, as well as making available other open source content that is available and freely available, and that we make it available to our teachers and to our learners. Now, Honorable Chairperson, the next slide is giving you a report on the effort with regard to those areas, some of those areas that I spoke about, where DG managed to, at the directive of the Minister and Deputy Minister, to find money within the basic education sector. That this slide is giving you those cost drivers, the main cost drivers in terms of what is that is taking the bulk of the money, the ICT devices, connectivity, digital content, as well as distance learning. And the figures that are reflected there to show you what is that we are spending in terms of connectivity for schools. And these figures that you see here are from the money that comes from basic education. It doesn't come from other partners, but comes from basic education and connectivity for learners. You can see 89 million rand that were spent in the last financial year, 2022 and 2023, and connectivity that is given to teachers there in terms of data bundles to ensure that they are able to access content as well as deliver it to the learners. The next slide is giving you a breakdown per province in terms of what each province has managed to allocate. And in the center there, you can see the cumulative budget allocation that was allocated in 21-22. And perhaps let me indicate that in responding to the directive from the Minister and the DM, DG wrote to all HODs requesting each one of them to identify 100 million rand that could be utilized to deploy ICTs in schools. And this was towards a goal of raising 1 billion rand per year. The DG's goal was to raise 1 billion rand per year. But this report is giving members that in 2021 and 2022, provinces exceeded that 1 billion. They actually doubled the target that DG had given them. That we managed to raise 2 billion rand in 2021-22, which was spent on ICT rollout. And all this money is the money that comes from basic education. It doesn't come from partners. It doesn't come from anyone else. The same trend can be seen in 2022-2023, where 2.21 billion rand was raised and spent by all provinces. And I think that honorable members would be interested in knowing from the provinces where they come from, what is the response from their provinces. So all 9 provinces responded to the call, and that there is appetite by provinces to allocate funds to ensure that we deploy ICTs in schools. 1 billion rand a year, according to the projected figure of 2015 from Operation Phakisa Lab, it was going to take us 30 years on 1 billion rand to reach that goal. But with this trend, it is already giving us an indication that we will take half the time to be able to raise the 30 billion rands. Or we may even take shorter should these trends change and improve. And this is what we are pushing, but we are truly grateful to provinces for responding positively to this. Now, this expenditure shows you in terms of learners, we just lifted about 4 provinces there to indicate that Free State, for instance, spent almost R1 million in terms of resources that went to learners. And you can see Gauteng, Mpumalanga, as well as Northwest. In terms of educators, the slide gives you Gauteng, KwaZulu-Natal, Northwest, and Western Cape. And we can see that many provinces are beginning to create what you call smart classrooms. And the last, I would say, column on the far right there shows you an appetite in terms of investment that provinces are making in creating smart classrooms. This is in terms of ICT devices. The next slide is around connectivity, and you'll see provinces like Western Cape and Gauteng spending huge monies because they also have what they call provincial broadband infrastructure rollout that are driven from the premier's offices. And there are huge investments that are made to ensure that government institutions benefit from this type of an approach by provinces. And the type of connectivity, there are 3Gs, there is LTE, and there are capped data bundles as well. The slide there gives you that. However, there is work that we also do where we work with partners and working with the Department of Digital, with Communication and Digital Technologies, all mobile network operators, in terms of their licensing, they are obliged to make a contribution towards bringing connectivity into schools, as well as providing some of the devices that we need. The slide that you see here came out of a directive from the minister and the deputy minister to say provision of ICTs to special schools is a low-hanging fruit, in that we don't have too many special schools. The number is small, and if we can focus on these learners, we will be able to complete all of them in a short space of time. The second reason was that usually when we do our planning, we always think about special schools last, farm schools last, multi-grade schools last. And the minister and DM said, prioritize special schools. So we worked on this, and we are here to report that out of 550 special schools in the country, if my figure is correct, Honorable Chairperson, we have already provided 447 public special schools with connectivity, with assistive devices, working with the mobile network operators. We still have about 130 that are outstanding, and these are largely because of the work that still needs to be done by MTN as well as SLC, who are lagging behind in terms of their delivery. But we are working with them, and they have since submitted their implementation plans to us to ensure that they do what they're supposed to do in connecting schools that have been allocated to them. Honorable Chairperson, the government has a policy on connectivity, and this policy targets government institutions like schools, clinics, police stations, and other government offices to ensure that they are provided with connectivity. This plan was broken down into two phases, and phase one, which took place since 2013, has seen 594 schools being connected, and these schools were in the 8 NHI districts in Eastern Cape, Free State, Mpumalanga, Northwest, Northern Cape, KZN, and Limpopo. And this slide gives honorable members a report in terms of how many schools are in which province, which were connected in terms of phase one. Now, the Department of Communication has moved to what is called phase two implementation of this SA Connect policy, where we are going to see 18,529 schools, which is the rest of the schools being connected. Cabinet approved on the 28th of January this phase two, and that it must be implemented and that from basic education, 18,529 schools must be connected. This report and this plan was presented to CEM, and CEM received this report and directed that we must go ahead and implement this. What we are reporting to the Select Committee is that the DBE has already, through DG, submitted the list of schools to the Department of Communication and Digital Technologies. At the time of preparing this report, Gauteng and Mpumalanga had not yet submitted their list, but we report that they have since submitted their list, and all provinces have submitted their list. We have developed the draft specifications which we gave to DCDT on the type of connectivity that must be deployed in schools. In conclusion, we are also working with Telkom, which approached the Department of Basic Education through their mother department, which is DCDT, to provide high-speed broadband connectivity to 1,200 schools. Perhaps the other thing that I should have mentioned with the connectivity with mobile network operators is that the speeds are at 10 megabytes per second. And we always argue that those speeds are not suitable for delivery of curriculum. They are okay for school administration, but teachers can't deliver lessons on 10 megabytes per second. But with this approach, with OpenServe and Telkom, the speeds that are being provided here are suitable for delivery of curriculum, since this is broadband and high speed. We have already brought connectivity to a number of schools. This project has started, and we will keep Portfolio and Select Committee appraised with the progress that we are making. We have, as a sector, starting from 2014, where we only had 48% of schools that were connected, made huge progress. That in 2022, we have reported connectivity to 80% of our schools from that 48% in 2014, and that we are moving closer and closer to 90% of our schools being connected. The last slide is on challenges and mitigations. What we propose needs to be done, and we are proposing that the Department of Communication and Digital Technology should put policy in place to make sure that all the schools are provided with high-speed connectivity, both for administration as well as teaching and learning, and that this connectivity must be zero-rated, because when schools have to pay and mobile network operators give schools bills, some of the schools do not have the budget to be able to keep up with the bills that are coming their way. We also say DCDT, through the regulator ICASA, should create a national connectivity dashboard where all the stakeholders, including the Select Committee, can be able to check and verify the connectivity at any point. That you log on through this dashboard and you are able to see what is happening in all the schools in the country, and that learners should be provided with SIM cards, specialized SIM cards that will enable them to access educational resources. And this is in the short term. In the medium term. In the long term, we say government should put a dedicated budget to implement SA Connect policy, because without budget to roll out connectivity in schools, we will continue to lag behind. But we report to the Select Committee that through efforts by basic education and the support from all the structures, including the Portfolio Committee, Select Committee, CEM, as well as HEADCOM, efforts have been made by basic education to ensure that within the environment of cost containment, budgets are still allocated on an annual basis. And the trends that we are following at the moment are that about 2 billion rand is allocated on an annual basis within basic education towards deployment of ICTs for teaching and learning. We recommend that the Select Committee note and discuss this presentation. Thank you very much, DDG Gaya, for the opportunity. Back to you.
Thank you.
Chairperson, if you would allow, the next presentation is done by Mr. Ndlebe on the district development model.
Thank you. Mr. Ndlebe.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you, DDG. The presentation is on the district development model. I'll try not to even read what is in there. That is how the presentation looks like. We'll give you the background and we'll give you how we institutionalize this.
Through you, Chairperson, Dr. Ndlebe, Mr. Ndlebe, you sound like you are in a deep hole.
Okay. Am I better,
come
DM?
closer to your mic.
Am I better, DM?
Yeah, it's better, but not yet there. Let me speak again.
I wonder what's going on because
Yeah, now you are fine. Now you are fine. Thank you.
Thanks, DM. So this is our aim to brief the select committee on the DDM. Just to give you a little bit of background, that this is what the president has announced during the SONA in 2019, that this is the model that we want to improve service delivery. And what has happened is that Cabinet has adopted that State of the Nation address, and this is how the DDM was then born. As a sector, the DBE, we have two national champions. We have the minister having been given a district municipality to manage, that is the Sidibeng one. And the deputy minister has been given John Taole Gaetziwe as the principals of those two DDMs. Now, generally, these are the objectives in the department, how we fit into the DDM. We have those 5 objectives, which was to introduce this model to the sector, the entire education sector, and to align all the plans of the sector of the education together with other organizations, other sister departments being led by COGTA. We also share information on identified key sector catalyst projects. And we infuse these sector priorities into what we call a one plan activity. Then we customize this district development model reporting, the way we develop templates for purposes. Now, all those 5 objectives have been covered. If you look at on the right-hand side, you'll find that, yes, we have institutionalized this in the sector. We have developed structures. We have developed key templates, reporting templates, and the sector is aware of what you're doing. We have developed this one plan together with other departments. Now, what we're trying to show to you here, I said we've got 2 principals that are running this DDM, one being the deputy minister, being in charge of John Taole Gaetziwe in the Northern Cape. So it's a case study, it's an example on how it works throughout the country. But we're giving you an example based on just this one district municipality, that we have put together a technical team, which is then run by DDM as our principal there. She drove us into developing that one plan. One plan is when the different sister departments under the deputy minister, together with the municipality, agree on issues of collaboration. These could be issues of supply of water, electricity. It could be how we approve building plans, how we fast track, how we fast track a lot of service delivery, how we utilize our resources, like in health. How do we make sure that the social workers that are able to work with us? How do we ensure that the security cluster, especially the police, they get into a school in one, adopt a part of that. So it's one plan that will have all the components of all the different departments together. And then we have that plan, which then we monitor it, we manage it, and that's how it's done. The very same story you'll find where the minister is now the champion in the Sidibeng district municipality. It will be the same thing, where structures are established, where we identify key areas of collaboration, where we develop a one plan, and then we monitor this one plan. This happens in all the districts, the education districts, which are then aligned to the DDM. The president has visited these areas, Sidibeng and also in the Northern Cape. What we can report is that all issues that were raised in those meetings to the president as being issues of concern, immediately the president left, these issues were then addressed by the department. And we've got a clean bill of health on all issues that were raised that affected the education department. Now, in this slide, we're trying to indicate that there are 75 education districts that we have in the sector. But these districts have to be aligned somewhere so that they reflect what the DDM districts are, which are not 75. But we have tried to institutionalize this by ensuring that all our district directors, the 75 of them, work along the structure of the DDM and are responsible to synchronize all processes that require the DDM, the one plan, the reporting, the identification of issues, and they are then coordinated at each provincial level. So in short, we're saying, as far as the education sector is concerned, we are highly involved in the DDM. Wherever the president and the deputy president went throughout the whole country, we have been very actively involved there. The reports that were provided in those structures, the department has been part and parcel of it, and we never lagged behind on any information because of the structures that we have established down there in the ground in all provinces, including those that are run by the minister and the deputy minister. That is our brief, and we recommend that you note the report that we're giving you and say we are in control in the education sector when it comes to the DDM. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
You are indeed in control. Yes, the next presentation.
Chairperson, the next presentation will be done by Mr. Louis Taylor. If you could please come on.
Thank you very much, DDG. I cannot share my. I'm just trying to share.
I was just finishing a presentation.
No, I said I'm asking to ask you a favor, so I have to put it to your time. Thanks. Do you remember I found you one day on the States?
Yes.
And I
I'm
talked
still
to you
waiting
about-
for you.
Hey, what's happening?
Good morning. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are. You are indeed. You're audible.
Good morning, Chair, honorable members, honorable Deputy Minister, Director General, DDGs, and other colleagues. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share with you on how the DBE initiates, maintains, and sustains corporate and other funder support. You may have heard that a number of my preceding colleagues referred to partners in assisting in the work of the DBE and their particular work that they are doing. This presentation is to outline the work in terms of partnerships within the DBE, how we maintain, how we initiate, and how we sustain partnerships that will enhance our efforts in providing quality education. Education, as we know, is an apex priority of the government of South Africa. It is captured in our Action Plan 2019 towards the realization of Schooling 2030. The department recognizes the strength and value of effective partnerships in contributing to the improvement of quality education, quality public education. The department believes that partnerships can deliver added value, in particular where service delivery is unlikely or very difficult to achieve within the constraints of public funding. Partnerships provide yet highly effectively to achieve delivery outputs. It assists us with good governance, when programs are transparent, consistent, and well managed, and when it is fit for purpose, as indicated by previous colleagues in how partnerships assist them in their work. It also assists us to enhance our goal in making education a societal matter by actively involving communities, businesses, labor, and non-governmental organizations. Our partnerships are based on our enabling environment, which is our action plan, the Nedlac Accord on Basic Education and Partnerships with Schools, the National Development Plan, which is really the country's roadmap, the National Education Collaboration Framework and Trust, and then obviously we are all guided within the perimeters of the Public Finance Management Act. We have 5 pillars of partnerships. The volunteer and capabilities partnership. This pillar focuses on non-monetary contributions and critical capabilities within that's needed to transform education, which help us to include, amongst others, contributions in kind by volunteering services such as teachers, media space, airtime, pro bono skills, and expertise. Then we have a financial pillar. This pillar focuses purely on financial contributions made to programs and projects of the DBE. One example of this would be sponsorships for DBE programs such as the Teaching Awards, the National Nutrition Awards, our top achievers nationally in the announcement of the National Senior Certificate. The priority pillar, these include monetary and non-monetary contributions that directly support DBE priority programs, such as infrastructure. Mr. Siddiqui has just presented on ICT in education, early childhood development, school safety, school sport, and enrichment programs. We often use this pillar. An opportunity presented to the departments is the annual Nelson Mandela Day, that we mobilize partners to support certain priorities within the department, as opposed to what corporate would want to do on Mandela Day. So there we would play a guiding role. Then we have research, innovation, and support pillar. This would include smaller projects, such as creative and innovative attempts to improve the quality of our education. This also includes partnerships where it relates to research on behalf of the DBE. Advocacy pillar, this is really in support of campaigns, specific events, exhibitions and functions, monthly newsletters, general advocacy campaigns of the DBE programs. All our partnerships with particularly the private sector in NGOs, the DBE has developed clear policy protocol and implementation of partnerships. We have an approved framework which has gone through all the legal processes. When considering any partnership, the DBE will make a decision having examined the issues as set out in our framework. We have a very clear protocol. The purpose of the protocol is to enable the DBE, our officials, as well as our partners, to ensure that the partnerships in the DBE engage in an appropriate and manageable. The protocol sets out the goals of the partnerships that will both assist partners as well as the DBE. Our partnership implementation, partnerships with the DBE cannot be implemented in an automatic manner. I wish to add here, Chair, that the greatest risk in any partnership, public-private partnership, lies in the implementation. We have seen and witnessed that partnerships can start with the greatest of intentions, resources available. However, it is in the implementation that a partnership works and is brought to life. How do we initiate partnerships and its legal status? Partnerships can be very rewarding, as we've explained, and to assist the department in delivering quality public education. Any participation in a partnership by the DBE is approved to the appropriate management levels. The process applies to all partnership, irrespective of its sizes, its importance or impact of the partnerships. The merit of all proposed partnerships will be measured against the goals of the DBE. Quite often, we have business who would approach the DBE for a partnership, but in a lot of cases, such partnerships would only benefit business. In this regard, the DBE makes certain that we lead our partnerships that we enter into, and that the objectives of the DBE are met first and foremost. It is important to understand the distinction between many formal partnerships. The DBE obviously encourages formal partnerships because that allows us to scrutinize and review those partnerships. A comprehensive list of requirements. We've developed a comprehensive list of requirements that we share with any potential partners who would like to partner with the DBE. Consideration and approval of a partnerships is based on the value of the partnership to the DBE, ultimately our constituency of learners and teachers. The Director General is the only one that can approve a partnership within the DBE. A memorandum of understanding or a memorandum of agreement, whichever is applicable to the partnership, is then signed, and which guides the maintenance and the implementation and sustainability of such a partnership. The agreement provides clear roles and responsibilities for each stakeholder that is party to the agreement. The partnerships and legal directorates within the DBE assist in vetting the partnerships entered into by the DBE with any private entity. In terms of implementation, a steering committee is established comprising of officials of the implementing directorate within the DBE, the partner representatives, and that steering committee will then oversee the implementation of partnerships. Very important to our partnerships is the monitoring and evaluation of partnerships. The DBE's involvement is reviewed regularly. In most cases, it's reviewed on a quarterly basis in order to ensure that continuing relevance to the department's priorities are met. In the evaluation of partnerships always cover two areas: providing assurance that proper systems are in place and that its outcomes and performance match the goals and intention of the partnerships. It is closely monitored. We also decide whether the objectives of the DBE are met, and in our review, we ensure that the partnership is effective and serve our constituency. Auditing and scrutiny arrangements of partnerships, critically important, as I've indicated. That partnerships, the arrangements of a partnership should be very clear. The DBE ascertain where the responsibility of these functions lies. That is particularly important if the partnership manages or allocates the resources of its partners through any pooled or aligned arrangements. Very often this is in the case of broader collaboration in broader partnerships where it's more than parties involved. These arrangements should be clearly referenced in any partnership agreement, and the evidence of the work of a partnership activities must be captured in an electronic bank of evidence. And this is supporting evidence in our quarterly reports within the DBE. It's also important that the DBE is represented on agreed partnerships with respective Deputy Director General in collaboration with the Director General's guidance. Any partnership does not permit any official to commit the Department of Basic Education to use any resources not contained within approved budget. In this regard, Chair, quite often we would find partners would use the logos of the department or its campaigns for its own purposes, and the DBE closely monitor such and scrutinize any such activities. So we wish to thank you for the opportunity. We'd like the steering committee to note this presentation, engage in it, and thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm muted. Thank you very much. And I guess that is the end of the presentations. Is there another presentation that is not that we still have to hear?
No, Chairperson, that was the last presentation.
I guess not. Yeah. Honourable members, and thank you very much for the briefing, for these presentations. They are quite an eye opener, you know. Comes when we raise things in the committee that, you know, this will be the ideal situation is to have this and that. It will make life easier for teaching and learning. And then you don't realize how long and how much will be involved in coming up with those strategies to ensure that we realize those dreams. Thank you very much. And that, you know, you came up with mitigating strategies to mitigate against the, you know, things that may impact negatively on our schools and teaching and learning. Let me open this to members to engage with the, you know, with the presentations, ask questions. Yeah, let us engage. And for me, I would like to check, DM, that in these partnerships, you know, when people create partnerships, it's because they've got certain interests. And that how do we ensure that their interests do not overshadow our interests, that is that of teaching our children and yeah, and how do we ensure that you know, we don't get people using our schools to advertise even things that are not necessary, that are not kosher in terms of what educational needs. Like, you know, we cannot use even if we get funding from the brewery, we cannot use the funding. I mean, you know, get the brewery advertising in our schools, you know, and all those. Those are some of the things that will be, I would like to check if whether proposals that you turn down of partnerships that you turn down, and for what reasons, and what were those proposals.
I'll give over to this. I see the hand of Honorable Baha and Honorable Christians. Yeah, those are about the only hands that I can see on the platform. Honorable Baha.
Yes, thank you, Chairperson. And let me also welcome the presentations. And as you said, I mean, it's an eye opener on most of the issues that were raised. So I want to thank DBE for these presentations. But Chair, I just have a few questions. One, I would like to get some clarity on how DBE identifies. Sorry, Chair. I think it's sorry, Chairperson, for that. I would like to get clarity on how the DBE identifies the occurrence of some principals not implementing policies, namely learners not being searched by the principals or teachers with the assistance of police, meaning various weapons are brought to schools. What consequence measures are meted or has taken place within this context? Two, Chair, media coverage posted several incidents pertaining to teachers and learners experiencing challenges or suffering injuries and even losing lives due to use of weapons in schools by some learners. Can we confidently state that all learners and teachers are safe in schools today? What measures give a guarantee that learners and teachers are safe in our schools? The third one, Chair, is on ICT. Please elaborate on the long-term strategies linked to the distance learning-based investments that were made and how such are to the benefit of all provinces and specifically deep rural areas in the future. And the last, Chairperson, is there a move to ensure that the law is reviewed to accommodate the district development models calls to ensure that local government is easily able to participate on schooling matters? That was the last one, Chairperson. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Baha. Honorable Delmain Christians.
Thank you, Chairperson. And I hope I am clear because I'm battling with connectivity a little bit. My questions are simply related to the Northern Cape, Chairperson. I want to know, in terms of safety and security in schools in the Northern Cape, I see that the Northern Cape is not one of the pilot projects being rolled out. So I would like to know what the rationale behind that is, why the Northern Cape was excluded in that pilot project, because just last year, and I mean, we had various incidences of violence in school. It's still ongoing, but last year especially, we had quite a huge issue at one of the schools in Kimberley in Greenpoint, where staff members and learners were kept hostage by gang members who were also school pupils, and 30 school pupils were suspended during that time. But to date, we haven't heard anything further. So it is really a problem, and I would like to know what the way forward is then for schools in the Northern Cape with regard to safety and security. And then, Chairperson, with regard to connectivity as well in the Northern Cape, it remains an issue. So I would like to know what are the long-term strategies, especially for connectivity in the rural areas, for schools where, for example, in the area I am today in Winsterton, there are pupils writing an computer examination, a mid-year exam. They have had to be moved from Winsterton to another area to write that because there's absolutely no connectivity in the area for them to complete that kind of test. So what is the long-term strategies then for students in rural areas like that for connectivity, especially in the Northern Cape. For now, Chairperson, that's all from me. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. I see the other hand, it's Zoom user. I don't know who this one is. Can you identify yourself?
It's Lihisha.
Oh, yeah, only he.
Thank you, Chair. A ke se re batlang kutla ke tlo go bua Setswana.
Yeah, continue.
Okay. Ke mo kgang ele ya bullying. E botlhokwa thata because recently go na le ngwana o mongwe o na buliwa ko sekolong for sebaka se se telele, so principal they ba handleng ka teng a ke a kgotsofala. So ne ke botsa gore a gona thuso nngwe e ba ka thusang ko dikolong gore go stopa kgotsa gore bullying e fokotsege. Le sekolo sengwe maloba ga gona le ngwana mongwe o remilwe ka slap mo jarateng ya sekolo a apere uniform. So ga gona gore go ka kry-a maphodisa kgotsa bangwe ba ba ka search-a ko dikolong mo di-gate-eng gore bana ba se ka tsena ka dibetsa mo sekolong. Ke a leboga.
No, thanks, Honorable Lehiki. How can mention or school so buanga sona ke se se feng se go kae? Maybe it can help so that bakhono go latella or what might have happened, and then Baba says support and necessary. You got to know or why in writing later, but
Ele ba ko ngwaneng o ne a remiwa ka slepe ke Kgatela Pele Secondary School.
Kgatela Pele?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then o mong o ko na buliwa teng ke Reabona Secondary School.
And they go Northwest?
Yes.
Okay. And yeah, maybe and then the issues are why are they do we have police who help in the searching of students in the school, in those schools? What are the teachers doing? I mean, how did it happen that somebody gets chopped with an axe in a school? And axe is a very big thing. You can't even mistake it for anything. It doesn't look like any instrument that we can use at school. And how did it happen that no one saw that there was a kid carrying such a dangerous weapon? Are there searches in those schools? What are the role of teachers and the SGBs in monitoring? But I guess remember the other thing is that the issue of school safety starts with us at home. There's no child who lives home from the forest. Everybody lives from home. For me, it's when my child leaves home, I must make sure that what is in his or her bag are things that she's going to school, not any other thing, that may harm other children. I don't think that it's our responsibility also as parents to ensure that our kids do not carry weapons to school. And the other thing I'd like to know, as an addition to the question, is that if these kids are caught with weapons in school, what happens to those weapons and what happens to the kids? Do they get charged? Do they get a criminal case? Are they, I know in the past, in my time when I was still at primary school, if you are caught with a weapon, you'll be taken to be whipped. And now there's no corporal punishment now. What happens in those instances? Do kids get taken to reformatory schools? Are there other questions that members would like to ask?
Chair.
Yes, is that Honorable Hihi again? Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Ele ya bullying lona ba bua ka yone, and ngwana o na ile go reporta bullying eo. So since then, teacher ha ngwana a dirile phoso ha mo kgalemele because o bua gore wena nka se ke bua le wena o tla o reporta gore ke go bully. So o mo satline gore I want to learn.
Yeah, and what school is that? What school is this for?
Reabona.
Oh, Reabona Secondary. That is where they say issue of bullying. And when kids report bullying, teachers victimize them. They say, no, I can't even talk to you because you'll be accusing me of harassment or of bullying you. Yeah, and is that all? I was just trying in a way to...
Thank you, Chase.
Yeah. DG, let's get the comments and answers to some of the questions asked.
Chairperson, DG is just busy in a meeting.
Yes,
we are running dual things, but he did explain that earlier to you. I'm going to ask the colleagues who are from the various presentations if they could please come in. There's a question on partnerships and the extent to which it overshadows the interests of the learners and how the partners get involved with the schools. I think that you have asked those questions to the colleague from partnerships, so he can answer that. In the questions on school safety and violence, there are quite a few questions that have been asked. I'll ask Dr. Whittle if he could lead on that. And then there is the issues around connectivity, especially in the rural areas. I'll ask Mr. Klabani to come in on that. Thank you very much, Chair. Over to the colleagues.
Thanks, Mr.
If I may go first, Chair, on the question on partnerships. The DBE, partnerships with the DBE are always led by the DBE needs, priorities, and goals in terms of our deliverables, not the other way around. We have a very stringent vetting process in considering any partnership. For example, the background of the organization, areas of collaboration, the clear roles and responsibilities, as well as the commitment of such partners. The vetting process essentially ensures that our schools are not turned into a marketplace. In terms of advertising, I can assure the committee that inappropriate advertising such as alcohol, tobacco are not allowed in schools. So yes, that would be my answer to the question. I'm willing to answer any follow-up questions in this regard. Thank you very much, Chair.
Facilitate according, yes, I wanted to say facilitate the response according to the sequence of the questions, please, Tidichike.
The next set of questions are all around the issues of learner safety. And that's why I'm asking Dr. Whittle if you could come in, alternatively, if Mr. Ngobesi could answer.
Yeah, no, thanks very much, Ms. Kaya. I'm going to ask Mr. Ngobesi to deal with them, please. Ngobesi.
Thank you very much, Chair and members, as well as the DM. In terms of the questions that were asked from the Honorable Baha, you know, just asking around whether our teachers are safe in our schools. I can safely say that in terms of the school monitoring survey that the department has conducted, it basically shows that over 80% of the questions that were given to the teachers in different schools, different categories of schools across the country, they have indicated that they actually feel safe when they are at schools. But with having said that, Honorable Chair, we also know that there are problematic areas. And that is why our intervention has been located in those hotspot areas in particular. When we descend on a province and in a district, we always want the one where the challenges are actually high and the incidences of violence presented by the schools or reported by the schools and circuit as well as district, so that our interventions are targeted at that. And I know for a fact that there are areas where teachers feel unsafe. The example would be the very, very area that we were in KwaMashu last month, where we were trying to bring in these interventions. And among those areas where there is high prevalence of crime, that is where we normally request, for the SAPS to do regular searches and seizures. But also we always advocate that the school, by the way, is also allowed on to conduct these searches and seizures on their own if they are suspecting that perhaps a learner might be carrying a dangerous object. Because we don't, in most of our school, have metal detectors, so it would not be that we will be 100% in terms of making sure that everybody within the school is safe. In terms of the question that was asked by the Honorable Dalmail Christian around Northern Cape, why is Northern Cape excluded? Northern Cape is very much part of the list. If you look at the list, there are 3 provinces where we have not yet been in, and these are next in our plan. Provinces such as Western Cape, provinces such as Free State, as well as Northern Cape. These are the provinces that are next in terms of our list, because there is not even a single province that we want to leave behind. In fact, once we have done all the provinces, we will start on the first one, looking at a different district, but also monitor those districts where we have been to see that the structures that we have put in place, are they functioning? Is there a reduction in terms of these crime and violence incidences in those particular schools? The issue of bullying, it is quite a challenge because it happens on so many platforms these days, even on the these apps that learners get into, WhatsApp, social media spaces. It's no longer just an issue of, learner between learner and learner. And we do want to just record that we will also be following up on the names of those schools that have been reported here. Just this afternoon, we will be conversing with our colleague who is coordinating issues of school safety in Northwest to actually look into the issues that have been raised in the 2 schools in that particular area. What normally assists us as a department is that each school is supposed to have a code of conduct that governs the behavior of learners within the particular schools. And the codes of conduct are basically documents that parents would be involved in terms of approving those code of conduct. But the code of conduct will contain what steps should be taken when a learner has committed a particular offense. And offenses must vary from those that are not so serious to those that are serious and putting the life of other learners or teachers at a school in risk. So in those incidences, then the code of conduct will spell out exactly what should happen to a particular learner at a school who has been found to have transgressed the code of conduct. So in terms of behavior, for example, for learners, schools are supposed to lodge these codes of conduct with their district offices and their provincial offices. And we rely so much on this in our district offices to check whether schools are complying in terms of those code of conduct, and also to check if the code of conduct are strong enough to empower the schools to be able to take decisive steps should a learner transgress. So these are the measures that are there in the schools. In incidences, for example, which might be, beyond even sometimes the control of the schools, where a learner steps another learner, because normally on a daily basis, it is practically impossible that you can search learners on a daily basis as they get into the schools. And we know that our schools do not have metal detectors where maybe a learner can go through the gate and whatever they are carrying can be confiscated. Then those incidences, however, do happen where a dangerous weapon. But the code of conduct within the school should then take care of that particular issue, because each school would have rules and regulations of how they would then process that particular learner. But we have heard of incidences where the a learner has transgressed to a certain extent that the school governing body recommends to the head of department that a particular learner be expelled at a school, or where there are incidences and enough evidence to show that a particular learner is going to be a danger to other learners and teacher, it would be recommended to the HOD that that particular learner be removed from schools. Where, for example, serious offenses have taken place, and to such an extent that the matter warrants to be reported to the police, then that particular process will kickstart from that, in a sense that a matter will be a formal report will be made at the police station. And if there is strong evidence, the law will take its course, especially if the learners are of the age that they can be criminally charged. So those are the processes that are there, and that is what our protocol with the Department of Police states. But also we work with the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, especially on the issues of the Child Justice Act. We know that currently there has been a review of the Child Justice Act, and there are new developments that speaks to children in terms of the age of when can they actually be allowed to be treated as adults. So it's all new information that is just coming now into the fore. But those are the measures that are taken. Chair, I'm not sure if I have left any other questions or input that was made. Let me hand it back over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chairperson, can I further help you to direct who will respond? I think there is a question that the honourable member asked, one of the honourable members asked around bullying and the incident of the learners who were chopped with the axe in the school, and the extent to which the teachers had seen this and become involved in the matter. I think on that one, we would like to ask the honourable member to submit the names of the schools where these incidents happened, and we will conduct a full investigation from our side in the DBE, the extent to which this matters have been dealt with in the province, and what the involvement of all the stakeholders have been on that. It will be very useful to get that information. Then can I ask Mr. Klabani if he could respond to the two questions that were asked by the Honorable Baga and also by the Honorable Member Christians around the connectivity. It relates to the strategies on distance learning, especially in deep rural areas, and then also the connectivity issues in rural areas in the Northern Cape. Mr. Klabani, can you come in?
Thank you very much, DDG, and greetings to the Honorable Chairperson once more. DDG, I might have missed the question from Honorable Bach, but I did get the question from Honorable Christians on connectivity in rural spaces. What the question is, what are the long-term plans with regard to bringing connectivity into these areas? And she also made reference to a specific case of a school where learners experienced challenges in terms of accessing connectivity and having to be taken to another school. DDG, it's a very profound question and very difficult to answer. And the difficulty comes from here. What are the long-term strategies to ensure that schools in the rural areas have connectivity? What I'm going to attempt to do is to provide the options that are there in terms of government providing connectivity to rural schools. Connectivity is provided through a number of technologies. One very old approach is through copper, where connectivity is then taken to its destination. And the most modern one is fiber, which is far much better and faster and provides broadband connectivity that copper does not provide. And most of the cities have this fiber already deployed there. The challenge with fiber is that it employs the approach of digging the trenches and putting this fiber underground and then taking it to where it is going to be used. There is, however, an option to fiber, and that is what we know as satellite. Satellite, you don't dig trenches, but you use what we are familiar with, what are network towers, where a mobile network operator would erect a tower in a place and people within a vicinity, whether it's 20-kilometer radius or 50-kilometer radius, are able to log on to this tower and access their connectivity. Rural spaces in particular, they may benefit with the erection of towers because towers, they cover a distance in that if a tower would carry about 20 kilometers or 50 kilometers, it's able to transmit for 50 kilometers. You then erect another tower 100 kilometers from this one, and they meet at the 50-kilometer point. This tower transmits this connectivity and network to the next tower, and the next tower to the next to the next. And this is where rural places can actually be reached. It, however, depends on ICASA allocating broadband to a mobile network operator in that space, meaning licensing them to be able to operate in that space. It's not just about a mobile network operator just erecting these towers because they are needed. So there are role players, mobile network operators, the regulator, ICASA. The challenge from basic education is that all of these role players do not report to basic education. They report to another sister department, which is the Department of Communication and Digital Technologies. So the long-term strategy and the plan is for basic education to work with the Department of Communication and Digital Technologies, who are the custodians of connectivity, to ensure that the deployment of this infrastructure is accelerated so that schools can benefit from this type of deployment. Another approach would be for the portfolio committee to hold a joint portfolio committee meeting with the portfolio committee responsible for connectivity, which is the one responsible for communication and digital technologies, for that department to give us the plans, to say, what are your plans? We know that satellite can be an answer to our problems in rural areas. What are your plans to deploy satellites in deep rural areas so that no school is left out? And those plans should come from the Department of Communication and Digital Technologies. Basic education can only
Am I cut off, or is it me, or is it you?
It's Mr. Tlhabane who's been cut, Chair.
Oh.
But I don't know, because his mic is still on, is unmuted. It's just that it means his network. If maybe I may come in, I don't know, because he will come in when we still speak. Yeah. Mr. Tlhabane, if you can hear us, you have been cut.
Or as we are waiting for Ntate Tlhabane, there was a question about what happens to these children who get caught with dangerous weapons. Do we just confiscate them and let them go home? Or are they charged in terms of criminal procedure? They go to prison? What happens to them?
Yeah.
You know.
If
and then again, as we're waiting for Ntate Tlhabane, the issues related to community involvement in school safety. Our engagement with communities around the schools is very, very, very important in getting a buy-in. You know, does this program outreach, does it also touch that with communities, or is it only for SGBs?
It's unfortunate that Ntate Tlhabane is still on the line. I don't know, because that will disturb him. I wanted to start to your last question as to what happens to those learners. Chair, we work together with various departments and the community on issues of school safety. You put it correctly when you started by saying it starts at home. It goes to the community and the society. And we always say that a school is a microcosm of a community. What happens in a community is what is transferred to the school. So it doesn't need, that's what we're doing. We're working together. That's why we're leading as the Department of Basic Education. All these other sister departments that were mentioned here, that we're working with SAPS, Correctional Services and Justice, we're working with digital communication and digital technology. We are working with what is that? Social development, health, all this. We work as a team. And when we go to a community, we work with the community structures, where the municipalities. We even engage them to teach them that they are responsible for safety in schools. we work with traditional leaders, we work with faith-based leaders in every community. That's why we even work with QLTC, because in the QLTC, that's where all the other structures are, community structures are, that are responsible for the quality learning and teaching. So even at a school level, second level, district level, those committees should work as such. Yes, the safety committee is formed by the SGB, but it works with outside structures like your community policing forums. And where it is working, where we go, we find that it is working. And in other areas, they even assign a cop to a school. We know that in a police station, we may not have sufficient police officers as per the number of the schools within their policing area. But you find that one cop is assigned maybe to 2 or 3 schools. It depends upon the capacity of the police station. So we work together. So when we do this search and seizure, these learners, the weapons are confiscated by the police. That's their responsibility. But the learners, there are issues because they are learners. It depends upon the ages. They are minors. We refer those cases to the school governing bodies to follow their disciplinary processes within a school, where the parent of the learner will be called, and all this, they follow that. Sometimes they get suspended, sometimes they get expelled, which we don't promote the expulsion of learners, because sometimes they are still within the compulsory age. So if they get expelled, we normally recommend that they be moved from one school to another school with a strong weight and monitoring. That's what we do. It's normally done. We don't just leave them scot-free. But wherein guns are involved, that one we allow even the criminality to come in. Also, they have their way of dealing with minors also in the justice system. That's how we do it. There's no one who walks home scot-free. If you are caught, whether with dangerous weapon, with substances like drugs and whatever, we work together with social development, because we follow their drug master plan together with SAPS and all the relevant stakeholders. That's why on the cyberbullying, we work together also with communication and digital technology. So, Chair, like I said, it's a community matter. We involve the entire community. When we launched this, remember, we launched it in Gauteng, then we moved to Limpopo. Then our next province was supposed to be Northern Cape. So we involve the province. We don't work alone. We say, province, identify hotspots as it has been reported. Then Northern Cape, we went twice. Still, they could not identify the real hotspot. But we have not neglected them. We are still engaging them. That now we're only left with 3 provinces, of which Northern Cape is one, where we need to touch at a provincial level, so that we'll be able to monitor after we have left what takes place. Then we have not left. That's why we put Northwest in the place of Northern Cape. Then we went to Northwest, went to the hotspots of Northwest. Now we are monitoring the districts, because after we left, we want the district campaigns to kick in and the second campaigns to kick in, and the schools. That's what we normally allow to happen. So in those areas, like in Nelson Mandela Bay, when we arrived there, we found that teachers are even, they say when they go to school, they are afraid to wear even suits or to carry handbags, because the thugs are so rife that they enter schools with guns and everything and take the teachers' cell phones. That's why we can't fight this alone as basic education. We work with all departments and communities. So same as what we found happening in KwaMashu, where teachers were, the stories they tell us, you can see that even our teachers are not safe, our learners are not safe. But at least that we have gone there, we have established structures, we believe that things are going to be better. On partnership, I think they've correctly answered the questions. We no longer operate like in the past that people will just go to an area and choose to support this on areas that are not a priority to the department. That's why now we've centralized this. You go to the department, it's the department that tells you our needs and our priorities, not partners to tell us. That's how we work with our partners, as Dr. Taylor indicated. On the long term, which Mr. Sileki was, Tlhabane was on, the lead department on connectivity is the Department of Communication and Digital Technology. And the ministry of these two departments, they have regular meetings. They have the number of all the rural schools that are not connected. They prioritize their connectivity together with their service providers and all their role players. And I don't want to say ministers, there are ministers that are better than others, but there was a minister who took school connectivity. It's just that she was changed. Who took school connectivity? She had more information than us as a department. She took it upon ourselves and make sure that I want all the rural schools to be connected. But we believe that because it was not the program of that minister, it's the program of the department. So the department, because this current minister also met with our minister and told the minister that school connectivity is his priority. We believe that the same pace and the same information has been narrated to the minister. And we believe, because we told them that we are in a hurry. COVID-19 taught us a harsh lesson, and we've learned. And our schools need to be connected, especially in rural areas, because we don't want to continue opening this gap between the urban and the rural. So that's what we are working on, which is what Mr. Tlhabane was trying to respond. It's just that it started very far before coming to the point that the two departments are working together. What he was suggesting was that the two committees must also meet to check as to the report that this committee is getting from us. It talks the same message with the report that they get as the committee of technology that side. But the ministers are working closely together. So I don't know, Chair, if there's something that I have left. We are ready to take follow-up questions, as Mr. Tlhabane indicated.
No, thanks, DM. The other, I don't know if it was in this meeting or we were in the meeting of the Department of with Basic Education, or was it with tertiary education, where there was talk about involvement of the CSIR in looking at the network and connectivity for schools. I don't know if it was for universities, but I think it was actually schools. And there were programs, for instance, of issuing of, what do they call them, iPads or laptops for schools. What is the progress with that? And how does that fit into our ICT program as per the brief? Honourable members, you may ask follow-up questions if you have some. Otherwise, the briefing is loud and clear. Yeah, what is the involvement of the CSIR in solving these problems? Because I guess that part of their work is to give support to South Africans to solve their problems that are linked, that can only be solved through science and technology. So with such institutions, what is their role in supporting us?
I don't know if Dr. Ms. TDG Kea wants to come in first before I round up that question.
Okay,
TDG?
thank you, DM. Yes, thank you, DM. So on the programs that we have in terms of ICT devices, that is an ongoing process that has happened. In some provinces, it's more advanced than in others, depending on availability of budget and the way in which it's been rolled out, as well as the infrastructure that is available to be able to provide the devices. So for instance, Gauteng is more advanced in the provision of devices than maybe Northern Cape, and that's just because of the two differences in the province around availability of infrastructure. Also, we have received a donation of tablets from Stats SA from the last census. There's some 18,000, I think, schools that will be receiving these laptops. They're in the process of being delivered to the schools. They have been issued per province based on where these laptops were available that Stats SA had used during the last census. And these will be provided to schools for school learners to use them. Mr. Glabani has some more details on that if you would like to provide that information if we have some time. On the role of the CSIR and the work that, how do they play a supporting role to us? Well, the department has structured relationships with various organizations and entities. And the CSIR is one such organization that we have a relationship with them. The extent to which they play a supporting role, that part, I can't give the details of that. I'd have to check because it cuts between the work that happens within the DBE in our research unit, as well as the work that happens with the Department of Science and Technology. But definitely we have relationships with them, and the work that they do is more in supporting us around research in as far as I understand. Thank you, DM. Mr. Glabani, if you would like to add, if you can, any further details around the rollout of devices, because we have relationships with the service providers as well that have taken on responsibilities to also help us through donations from their side to provide devices to various areas. Thank you.
Thank you very much, TDG. I think you covered the question comprehensively, and I don't have anything to add at this point. Thank you, TDG.
Thanks,
Yeah, thank you, Chair.
back to you.
Thank you, TDG. Yeah, you put it correctly. CSIR, it reports or close stakeholder of the Department of Higher Education, but we have a relationship with them on matters of research and what done by our research unit, of course. Some of the research, okay, we do it in-house because it depends upon the availability of the budget. But the Department of Communication and Digital Technologies, they do work with CSIR because they do the research and the need analysis for the connectivity. The information which I say they have, which to me they had even, I think, more information because they told us all the number of schools that are not connected because they look at the communities that are not connected. And they know that if in this community, there's no connectivity in rural areas, then the schools automatically are not connected. Same as the issues of water. Issues of water, yes, we account as the Department of Basic Education, but by right, the Department of Water and Sanitation was the one that was supposed to account because they know the communities where there's no water. And there can be no magic that basic education will provide water in a school where there's no water, even on the water table. We can try. We can try to dig boreholes, but there's no water on the water table, like in Limpopo, some schools in Limpopo. We try. We do have boreholes, but there's no water that is coming out. And there's a department. It's just that it's unfortunate because basic education, it involves all the departments. So even some responsibilities of other departments, we find ourselves having to account on such. But we work very well with the Department of Science and Technology as one sector, Department of Higher Education, Science and Technology. We work together very well. So if there's a need, we do communicate. So and we have a constant communication. Maybe that matter transpired on the CSIR, transpired in your meeting with them, not necessarily basic education, but we have a data of all the schools that are not connected in the country. Like the Department of Communications has the same data, and we're working together, Chair. And there is a plan, as Mr. Tlhabane started from the meeting that was sanctioned by the president back then in around 2015, to say, I want to deal with clinics, hospitals, and schools. And I want to get it done, establish committees, and it was headed at a presidential level then. So, and it's just that sometimes there are those developments and hiccups and whatever, but that committee still exists and is working on that and is led by the Department of Communications and Digital Technologies. Work is going to be done. Thank you.
Thanks, DM. Our members, are there further questions, follow-up questions to? And in the absence of any, let me take this up. DM, you like to just to close? Yeah, because there are no.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, like I indicated when we opened the meeting, that we would love to brief the committee on our readiness for examination, so that we must not come after the events. Questions come, why didn't you do this? Because we come here for guidance and input by members. It's not only to checkmate, but to work together for the child of South Africa. But I want to thank the committee for inviting us to come and brief on these issues that we have briefed the committee on. Thank you so much, Chair.
And it's always a pleasure to sit in meetings where the DBE is involved, because everything goes smoothly. There are no tensions, and that the ministry is always available when we need to talk to them. You're responding on time to our requests and all. Thank you very much. And this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you so much, Chair.
Just Nolthando, do we still have minutes to be dealt with some committee internal?
Yes, Chair.
Yeah, so
we can be released. Yeah.
Yeah, let's release the department and the ministry via Dangi, Sinjel, and stand the date. Another
Thank
time.
you so much, Chair. Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you to our colleagues in the department. Bye.
Thank you, Chair. Bye, everyone.
Nolthando, then the minutes, the records of the last meetings, where are we? Oops, now I've lost the meeting. Oops.
You are still with us, Chair?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, Chair.
Okay, no, then it's fine. What do we have now?
We have minutes, draft minutes of the meeting held on Wednesday, 14 June 2023, Chair.
Yeah, that's the minutes. I'm trying to get to the screen where I can see, because I can hear that I'm talking to you, but My screen is messing me up. Oh yeah. Yeah, any comments from the minutes, honorable members? In the absence of any, is there a mover for adoption of this minutes? I can't see the screen, that's my problem.
Baha moves, Chairperson.
Oh yeah, Honorable Baha moves, yeah, any seconder? Those who seconds must just talk because my screen is blank.
Ask the
Any
question, Lee.
Oh yeah, okay, no thanks. Is there another pair of minutes? Noltando?
No, Chair, this was the only set. But Chair, I just received an invitation letter from the Minister of Sport, Arts and Culture. I don't know if I can maybe read the invitation.
Yeah, just read it.
All right, Chair. The invitation is for the 2023 Indigenous Games Festival to be held in and around the eThekwini Metropolitan Municipality in the KZN province. The details of the events are as follows. There's an IG opening ceremony and Heritage Day celebration on Sunday, 24th September 2023 at 9 o'clock in the morning. And the venue is Princess Magogo Stadium in KwaMashu. And then number 2, there's a participation games days. Date 25 to 28 September 2023. Time 8 o'clock till 5 o'clock in the evening. Venue Hoy Park, Durban. And the last ceremony is the closing ceremony to be held on Thursday, the 28th of September at 6 o'clock in the evening at Kings Park Athletic Stadium.
No, thank you. Thanks, Noltan. Or remember, that's the invitation, but then I guess that at this short notice, there's no way that we can be able to attend those things, except that members who are from KZN or around that area will be encouraged to go and attend these games. I'm checking that we having during those days there'll be the BRICS meetings, and other members are on international study tours and all. So yeah, there's the information, members. I don't know, those who want to attend can. And I also think that is a really very short day notice. What do members think?
Chair, I think that it's clashing already. We have commitments on the days, but also I guess I agree with you when you say that let's open it up. Those who can should attend, but I guess most of us are already tied up on those dates. So I agree with you, Chair.
Okay. If there's no any other hand, then I'll declare this meeting closed. Bye, Danke.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thanks for attending the meeting, good people. The meeting is closed. Adjourned. Huh? Hello?
Recording stopped.
Thank you, Chair.
Yes.